Time for us now to have a look back at the Republic of Ireland's draw against Serbia last night in the World Cup qualifiers. At this stage, Ireland with 2 points from their opening 5 games in Group A. Very unlikely that Stephen Kenny's side will be going to Qatar next year. But last night, huge performance from Gavin Bizon in particular, his heroics keeping Serbia at bay, and then the most bizarre of own goals, rescuing a point for Ireland. They end this series of games with a comeback 2-1 defeat against Portugal, that drab 1-1 draw against Azerbaijan at the weekend, and a 1-1 draw against Serbia, who are now a couple of points adrift of Portugal at the top of the group. To look back on last night's game at the Aviva Stadium, we're joined by Jonathan Walters. Jonathan, how are you getting on?
I'm good, thank you.
I was watching the Sky Sports coverage and yourself and Clinton Morrison speaking about the game last night. So just in a bigger picture sense, now that we've had 16 games under Stephen Kenny, yourself and Clinton don't seem entirely sure that this style of football that he's trying to implement is going to get results.
I think I was watching it last night and I was frustrated at certain things at play watching it, because we hear a lot as fans, we hear a lot as ex-players, you see it, and I'm watching the game and I'm watching how Serbia play. I'll take Serbia as a good example. They play and they build up play, and then they control the game in Ireland's half a lot of the time. And 1-2 touch, they're switching it from side to side, and they're dominating that area of possession. And really, that's what I thought we want to play like. That's what we want to be like, and there is certain passages of play where Gavin starts in goal and we play to the centre half, we go to the right back, we come back out, but there's got to be more of a plan after that, because when we do attack, it seems to be we're going down one side, it's got to get a crossing, but there's just got to be, I think, a bit of build-up, a bit of patience in the play, and dominating teams a bit more. And I think it was a bit of frustration watching it last night, that saying that this is we're a new identity. A new Irish team for the past 15, 16 games. This is how we're going to play. We're going to play possession football. It's going to be a team to be proud to watch. Everyone's going to want to play in it. And then there's a great example last night where I didn't really see us do that against a Serbian team that wanted to play as well. And then in other games as well, I haven't seen it as much. So I was sitting there thinking, I'm hearing things. I'm hearing how we want to play. I'm hearing that we want to have a possession-based game. We want to dominate teams, but I still haven't seen it enough. Or a long period of time, and I want to see it. I'm a fan. I want to see it. I want to see us do well. There's nothing more I'd want than Stephen Kenny, Keith, Anthony Barry, Dean Carley, that group of staff to go and do well, without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, look, you've got over 50 caps playing in the attack for the Republic of Ireland, so you can give me a good perspective on this. Is the issue with the passing more so in the final third than further back in the pitch? Because I think a lot of people praised how Ireland played out of the press against Portugal last week, and again at times against Serbia last night, very comfortable in possession when the team pressed up on them. But the issue seems to be that when it gets into the final third, it's still a case of getting it wide and just whipping crosses in from the wings.
I think so, and if you're playing one up front, it tends to be just Adam in the box, who was playing last night. But it's not just that. So say if you're building up from the goalkeeper, there's got to be a plan and a purpose with the pass. So if you go into the centre half, and we've seen it numerous times last night, we go to the right centre half, we come back, and we end up kicking it long, and it goes to Adam. And I felt very sorry for him last night, and I've watched him in 3 games he's played this week, and I think he's done exceptionally well in terms of his hold-up play and his work rate and running the channels. But you almost feel sorry for him, because I've played in that position where it's quite lonely, because we are building up, but if we don't build up with a purpose and play through the lines and split them and play through the opposition's press, and we do kick it long, the whole team's back in our 18-yard box, and we've got to get support to him. And I found there was times last night where he's isolated a lot, and I think that was frustration as an attacker watching that for him, because he's such a young lad as well, and he's got a lot of work to do, and it's very difficult for him to shine in games like that, where as an attacker you want to be on the edge of the 18-yard box. You want to do your little two-yard movements, coming short, spinning long, making runs in behind, and as an attacker, that's what you want to do. You want to show your prowess, your finishing prowess, and you don't really get that many chances playing in the way we played last night.
For Adam Ida, it's also difficult, Jonathan, for him to get a good run of steam and a bit of form here, because back at Norwich, he's unlikely to get a huge amount of game time because they're fighting for their lives in the Premier League. He's playing regularly for the Republic of Ireland, but he's not coming into any of these windows with club form, really.
It's a difficult situation if you're not playing at club level. It is. But I've been there, and there's plenty of times I wasn't playing regularly or was coming off the bench, but then had that just the energy to come and play for Ireland, the passion to come and play, and you're away for so many days, and it's a chance almost, if you're not club level, to show everyone what you can do. And I'll tell you what, he's done himself a world of good the past few games and how he played, because Norwich in the Premier League, you expect like a striker to be holding it up, to be playing and playing against, he's playing against world-class players as well. He's playing some very good defenders in the Portugal game and yesterday. So, he's done himself a world of good, but it can be an issue moving forward, especially for other players if they're not playing. But as I said, when I spun it on the head, and people used to say that, I wasn't always playing at club level. And when I came away, I always looked after myself well enough that I could play the games and I could play them at high energy.
Yeah, he's a player who's got a lot of potential. Other attackers with potential, this window hasn't really happened for them. Aaron Connolly, we were discussing last week with Stephen Hunt that Stephen thinks that Aaron Connolly has to be given time, that his composure is going to improve with experience. But we saw him snatch at a few chances, almost try a little bit too hard against Portugal last week, and he had the injury, so he wasn't able to play last night. What's been your take on Aaron Connolly for a guy who about a year ago really announced himself in the Premier League?
We were watching that game last week. I was with the under-19s. We were watching the game, and Aaron, and he did ever so well to get in a position. He's still a young player, and as young players, there's at some point you've got to be taking the chances when you get to a certain age, and you're not classed as a young player anymore. But as a striker, you're always told if you're getting into those chances, the positions to get chances, if you're playing yourselves in those positions to get your shots off, it'll eventually come. So it'll be more work on your finishing when you go back to the club. I'm sure he is anyway. It's not for me to tell him, but as long as he's in those positions to get the chances and he looked dangerous, and although some things he'll give it away, he's a young player. He's still running at players. He's still trying to beat players. He still does things where he gives the ball away, maybe in the wrong areas. But you're a young player. You're still learning, and it's great exposure for him to have. And probably last night you'd say it's a little bit of a miss there that you didn't have that, maybe a bit of pace on the break. That if you are sitting back and the transition from defence to attack, we just need to be a bit quicker with. Because look for the Premier League, for example, the transition in football nowadays, what Premier League, all European leagues, 4 or 5 passes, it's a goal. If you can get your passes off quickly and teams can break, a lot of goals are scored within that 4, 5, 6 passes sequence. So you need that pace on the break, you need the purpose, you need people to break. So he was a bit of a miss last night. As I said, I felt sorry for Adam playing on his own.
With a bit of a frustration, I think, with the Azerbaijan game at the Aviva on Saturday too, where that final third hasn't quite worked itself out with combinations just yet, and some of it has been outside the control of the management team, with Callum Robinson missing games with COVID-19 and players being injured and not available at the same time. But we got to see Paris up alongside Ida with Connolly on Saturday, and while we're all very excited about the 3 talents, they seem to all kind of get in each other's way, Jonathan, as well. They all wanted to go into that number 9 channel. None of the 3 really played in a number 10 position, which didn't help when we were trying to attack on Saturday.
This is the little thing that gets me a little bit, because obviously the under-21 players have come up for the under-21s. They should know how the manager wants to play it the same way. They would have played together numerous times. Whether you'd like to see 2 up front maybe for a change, it depends how the manager wants to play, but they should know the system, where to make the runs, how to play. And a lot of those players have come through from the under-21s, and it's great to see. It's great to see young lads coming through. And there was a graphic last night of the young players, Omar Bamadeli, Bazuna, Ida, Jay McGraw, Aaron Connolly, Troy Parrington. I would have liked to see him last night. But if they've played together from under-21s, it is a big step up. It's not just going to work at under-21 level. Maybe we're going for the same plan as what England did with Gareth Southgate, work with the 21s, bring them through to the first team. And it's great. It's fantastic to see these players coming through without a shadow of a doubt. But at some point, it's got to become a results business. When you're qualifying for games, when you're playing Azerbaijan, when you're playing Luxembourg, they're games you've got to go and win. There's no, we've been unlucky, we've been this, we've been that, we're missing players. Every country's going through the same problem over the past 18 months. Everyone's had to deal with the situation. At some point, there has to be results, because if we are building a team, and it's obviously the first we heard about it last week, that we weren't aimed for this campaign. We're on for the next campaign. And as a fan or as a player, you're thinking, well, I want to qualify for this campaign. If you go back from 2016, 2018, in our groups, 2016 we had Germany, we had Poland. We came third on 18 points. I think we lost to Poland on the last game of the season, last game of the group, to not come second. And then go to 2018, we finished second behind Serbia. We came ahead of Wales, we came ahead of Austria. So results, you can get results. Results can be done. Results, they need to come, especially in qualifying campaigns. And there's a fine balance between building a team and getting the results. But when you are saying you're building a team and you want to see the team go and play and dominate teams, I still haven't seen it enough. I still haven't seen it against Azerbaijan. I still haven't seen it against Luxembourg. Portugal, you can say we beat the press. If you look back at the game of Portugal, which I've watched twice over again, Portugal is still in first gear in the first half. They got players not running back. They got players, we should have took the game away from it 2-0. But we still got beat. We still got beat at the end of the day. It still wasn't a result. I'm still hearing we're nearly there. We were so unlucky, but at some point that's got to turn into results. At some point you've got to say, well, we need that result. It's not about being unlucky. It's about putting away games. And whether you point to the age of the players or not, but those players then have got to grow up quickly into senior football, and I've got to learn, and I've got to adapt to the fact that it's not a Premier League. You can't get away with missing these chances. You might get one chance a game. You might need to put them away. You might need to put teams away. You need to dominate possession. And there's nothing more than I'd want to see as an Ireland fan. I work with the under-19s, and it's so good to be able to turn around and say to them, there's a pathway for you in the senior team here. There's got lads in the under-21s there. You've got the likes of Andrew Moran, who's just made his debut. You've got Connor Coventry. You've got even someone below the under-21s who wasn't away last time, Boston, who's just gone to Celtic. These are players that have got great ability, that can come through, and it's great for them to see a pathway. But at some point, there's got to be results for the seniors as well, because there's no point if you're not getting the results and your seeding drops, it's going to become harder and harder to go into the right pots to qualify, because you're going to go in the third, the fourth pot, and you're going to come up against some very, very difficult teams in the group.
When it comes to that pathway, are all of the teams being instructed to play in a similar way to the senior team now? Like Jim Crawford's style with the 21s is not too dissimilar to the way the seniors are playing, but you can give us a view here on the 19s. Are you guys trying to coach the 19s in a similar way to the way that Stephen Kenny is playing the senior team, or is that kind of connectiveness there right down to the underage sides?
I think, well, Tom, who's the coach, the manager of the under-19s, he's a fantastic coach. And it's a hard one because they've missed a year in international football. So I think they've seen 150, 160 players over the past few months. So they're trying to whittle down the squads. And when you play the games, you're giving them an idea of how to play out the back, how to have a rotation in the field, how to have your fullbacks bombing on, the movements of the strikers. So I think it's more with what you've got, what sort of players you got, what system suits them. Have we got a left fullback that has ridiculous pace? Have we got a number 10 that can get on the ball? And you'll play to how you want to play. But football's football. It's giving people ideas. It's allowing them to go and play. But when you come to a match, no matter how you play, if you win them 1-0, then you defend and you work for each other. You get your shape, you work off that. But then it's having the freedom and the energy to go and play. And still last night, that's why I was frustrated last night, because I felt we had James right back, we had Matt right back, we were defending really, really deep, and we were trying to get up to Adam. He was isolated, and as a football person, in my coaching, and I want to go on to coach and manage, I'd like to see a team that'll press high up, that'll have people that are pressing their centre halves, winning the ball back on the edge of their 18-yard box, winning the ball back in their half. It was nothing more demoralising as a player, and I played it plenty of times, and the majority of the time for Ireland as well. I'm an attacker. I played the majority of my time in a right-back position or a left-back position or on the edge of my box, and we had to break from there, or we'd go up and hit it long. I always say to kids, my son's 11 as well, and I say to the 11-year-old, say the same to a 19-year-old, where do you want to win the ball back? You want to win the ball back in their box. You want to win the ball back in their half. So go and press them. If they beat the first man, Thomas Muller last year, was describing how his team press, and he said it's okay because when I press, if I get beaten, I know the next person's come to press behind me. If he gets beaten, the next person's come to press behind him. And as a fan, as an ex-player, that's what I want to see from the Ireland team. I want to see high energy, high pressing, get the fans off the feet, especially at home. But I just felt we were too deep last night. I just felt we were against a good Serbia side. But if I want to see us progress and I want to see us play this good football, dominate possession, go and press them on the front foot. Go and be a front foot team. Get the fans off the seat, because when the ground's rocking, it fills you with confidence as a player. There's nothing worse than sitting on your edge of the box and trying to win the ball back.
When it comes to changing that style, is it possible for a senior management team to do that? You've been at camps previously. I was chatting to Matt Doherty last week, and he was saying really the only prolonged period of time that this squad have had together was the summer when they went away to Spain and they got a bit of time to work together, because he said every other window they were preparing for 3 fixtures and it was a very quick turnaround. It was tactically getting ready for the opposition and there wasn't a huge amount of time to be able to make sweeping changes on the football pitch. Can a senior management really have that much impact when they only have players for very short windows?
Yeah, but we've had 15, 16 games. It's not just a one short window or 2 short windows. I think when the manager came in, this was the frustration last night. It was like, we're going to see a team to be proud of, which growing up, I was always proud of the Irish team. I was always wanted to play in that team. So, but I want to see the identity of the players, and you have got time when they're in, you're in, and you need enough train every day. There's not many days off when you're in. It's not an easy go away camp. You train every day, and there's ideas that be given to players. You've got a lot of time with them. So whether that be going through clips in the evening, whether that be going through with the analysis Jay done, whether it be going through how do we want to play, get the forwards in, get the midfielders in, get little passages of play. There is time to work with players, and then when you're playing, I'll say the lesser teams, the teams that you should be beating, Qatar, Luxembourg, Azerbaijan, these are the teams you should go and impose yourself and show what you're doing on the training pitch. Because if it is a campaign where we are just writing off, then go and play. There's freedom to go and play. Go and show what you can do. Like last night at half time, I was sitting there and we were 1-0 down. I was thinking, just come out second half and show everyone how you can play. I think there was all talk of the manager being under pressure before. If there was one half to go out and show what you can do, and you've got nothing to lose, because the Irish fans want to see it. The Irish fans want to be off the seat and want to see.
Well, they did get off their seats for the last 10 minutes or so. I think when Ireland really went for it in the end, they got energized then.
But how did we go for it in the end? If you're sitting there and watching as someone watching the game, how do we go for it in the end? What were we doing in the end of the game?
It was back to probably how we would have played in a lot of the games where we got results previously against better teams. We relied on good defensive blocks, a goalkeeper making saves, and then getting the ball into the box late on and trying to nick something.
Exactly. So it was putting Shane Duffy up there, getting the ball in the box, and making something happen. I'm not saying that's the way to play, but I'm saying that's what got the fans off the feet at the end. So one passage of play for me, we had a free kick on the halfway line, and Shane Duffy went up for the corner. I think it was about the 70th minute. We played it short, and we ended up giving it for a throw-in on the halfway line to them. The fans were desperate for that ball to go in the box. And there was a little turning point in the game. Watching it on the TV, obviously I wasn't there. Watching it on the TV, and you heard the fans roar, and it was someone chasing the ball down the channel. It was as simple as that. So they want to see the high energy. They want to see people press. They want to see action in a game, and it's difficult, especially international football, to sit deep and. But if we are going to sit deep, have a pan to play through, and I just didn't see that yesterday. And we've got 3 games left now in the group. Next one's Azerbaijan, and it's Portugal at home, and right, and then Luxembourg. I'd expect at least 6 points, but I'd really want to see us play. I really want to see us, right, listen, we've got nothing to lose. Chances are qualification's gone. We've got nothing to lose. This is how I want you to play. Go and impose yourself on the team. You young boys, you're all going to get a chance. Be fearless on the ball. Go and show what you can do. And I think that's what all Irish fans want to see, because although last night it we finished strongly. We finished strongly by results into what we used to do, which was put the ball in the box, get the second ball. And do you know what? It can work. We've seen down the years it can work. But I'd like to see the other side of it. I'd like to see us dominate in their half.
Well, two teenagers who've been remarkably impressive. Ask you about Gavin Bizon in goal, firstly. He's 19 years of age. He came through in the League of Ireland with Shamrock Rovers at 16. It was very clear that he was a top talent. Man City signed him. They've loaned him out over the last couple of seasons. He got his opportunity after Mark Travers made a couple of mistakes out in Serbia and Caoimhín Kelleher wasn't available. The last 7 games, I think he's been excellent and barely put a foot wrong as a teenager. And last night was a real coming-of-age performance for him too. He's effectively retired a really good goalkeeper that you would have played alongside in Darren Randolph, and this kid's only 19.
I wouldn't say retired Darren Randolph just yet.
It'd be very tricky to get back in.
It's very tricky to get back in, but football can change like that. You can have an injury. Darren can go and play and end up finding himself in the team somewhere and having an unbelievable season. Darren has been a great servant, so I wouldn't say effectively retiring Darren, but I would say he's took his chance. I would say the next game he's got to play, and he's been fantastic to watch, and it's brilliant. As I said all along, to see a young player like that, and some players will go through the careers and a chance will never come, or they'll find themselves second string, and you find out about players when they get a chance. Whether he's just gone on loan to Portsmouth as well, you'll find out about players when they get a chance, whether they can turn up on a big occasion. Because there's plenty of good training players, there's plenty of players that'll do okay, but when the big occasions come round and you can rely on someone, I think, showing the past 2 games alone, he's someone that you can rely on. And it wasn't just his saves as well, it was his presence in the box. It was his coming for crosses, it was his punches, it was his talking to the back four. I was so impressed by him, and he's a great one for the future. And it's, do you know what? And Stephen touched on the other keepers that were left out last night in his interview, and he's saying, you know, you've got other keepers to come back in as well, and he'd be looking at them, and maybe he thought, I've got to build them up a bit, because maybe they were ahead of Gavin before the last international break. But I'll tell you what, he's took his chance, and it'd be very, very difficult decision to leave him out after how he's been playing.
Another of your ex-teammates who has had huge redemption at the start of the season is Shane Duffy. Last year, a difficult year at Celtic, found himself back at Brighton and Hove Albion, weren't sure if he was going to go back out again. He gets into the Brighton team, he's played really well at the start of the Premier League season. I think he's had a really good window. Shane Duffy has looked back to his best, and some people wondered if Shane Duffy was going to be able to pass the ball. He has fit in perfectly to this team.
Say about Shane Duffy. Shane Duffy has a lot more quality than probably people have given credit for down the years. He can hit 70, 80 yard diags right onto someone's foot, and he can do those passes. Just allow him the chance to do so. He's at a team in Brighton that want to play football. He's gone to Celtic and he's had a really difficult time. But it just goes to show what type of person he is, what type of character he is, because he could easily have came back, tried to move from Brighton, but he wanted to stay and fight for his place. He's found himself in the team, and I'd say he's been one of the standout performers of the Premier League so far this year. In his performances, he's a threat in both boxes. You'd almost say he's the biggest threat at the moment for Ireland in set pieces, and he has been for a number of years. And there's nothing better than the centre half that has that desire, that has that ability to attack it in both boxes. He's a diamond of a lad as well, and he's exactly what you want in that team, especially for the other boys coming through to learn off him as well. You've got a good core group of players in there: Seamus, James, Shane, Matt as well, that the other players can learn from. And if anyone's to look at ups and downs in his career, not everything's always going to go your way. He's a great example of it.
Well, you're one of those former players who's now speaking about the team, and James McLean had his say on ex-players and on the media during the week. He felt that the Irish media seemed to get a kick out of the Irish team not doing well, and he thinks that the Irish team actually enjoy when the side struggles. At any point during your career, Jonathan, do you actually feel that the Irish media were against the team at some point, or that there wasn't a supportive feeling behind the side?
Football's a results business. You've got to understand this as a footballer. You can't take it personally. You can't take markings in the paper personally. Anything like that. You can't take... Football's a game of opinions. You can have someone that's never played football in life have an opinion on you, and you can take it personally. You can let it get you down. I heard James's comments about younger boys need to be protected, but you also need to have a hard mentality. You need to have that tough mentality. Nowadays, they should be exposed to it because they're going to get it their whole lives. If you want to be a player, you've got to deal with constant criticism.
Did you read much of it when you were a player? Would you have actually read the papers and maybe later in your career, say social media and website articles about the team, or when you were in camp, would you have ignored them entirely?
Would not bother me one bit. I'd read them, would not bother me one bit, because it's a game about opinions. The same with managers and players. Just because a player might not play in a team, that's only the manager's opinion of that player. He might go to another team and be an unbelievable player. I've had it down my career. Other players have had it. It's the same with media. But what I would say is everyone wants Ireland to do well. And that's not a blast at James. Everyone wants Ireland to do well. But if you get the results and you qualify and you're up there, you want to do well. I think James is just seeing younger lads coming through and wants a bit of support for the team. But do you know what? You shouldn't look for support from the media. You shouldn't look for support from outside your circle. That's your circle of players, the management team, everyone else. Be strong enough as a group and learn for it and learn from it, because you're not going to get any help from the outside. And if people build you up, they'll build you up to knock you down as a player. There'll always be criticism, but the more you read it, the more you let it affect you, the worse it'll be for you, because you've got to be mentally strong to be a player. You've got to be. Football is a career of ups and downs. The best bit of advice I was ever given as a player was there'll be so many highs, there'll be so many lows. Don't get carried away when you're doing well. Don't get too down when you're doing so badly, because things leave themselves out. You keep yourselves on a level head. You believe in yourself, and you believe in the work you're putting in behind the scenes, and you believe in everything you're doing, and you're only accountable to yourself. You know, as a player, and you need a good look at yourself as a player. You know if you've done enough to be in a team. You know if you've done enough through a career, and if you're not on the team, what you need to do to get in the team. You're accountable to yourself. So don't worry about what people are saying. If you start caring about what other people think, you're in trouble.
Well, the wait for a first competitive win under Stephen Kenny continues. We'll see if it can be achieved in the next window. Jonathan, thanks a million for joining us on Off the Ball.